Hey Sandra, how are things? Just wanted to make a video to give you some feedback on your progress and also to answer some of the questions in your email. So to the email first, actually, I'll have to log in because I accidentally logged out. 1 second there now. Okay. Yeah, so the difference in the energy levels is mad. It's crazy. Um, this is not, believe it or not, this is not something that goes away. So people will often say to me a couple of months into this, Jesus, my energy levels are through the roof. I presume this is just when you're getting used to it. It absolutely is not. I've been doing it for a long time, and I know people doing it for a very, very long time, for years and years, and your energy levels never go down. This is the way you're meant to live. It was just suppressed by refined foods before. When you were in that addictive cycle of eating carbs and topping up on them every 2 hours. Losing 2 pounds is great. It's also even better that your clothes are fitting better. Now, you have a good bit more toning because even if you're doing a small bit of exercise, or even if you're not doing exercise, actually your muscle tone stays a lot better. You might even find that you can feel like a little bit of strength in your muscles as well compared to before. So you will have a little bit of a trade-off there. So what people often notice is that their body shape changes a good bit. Like clothes feel like you're down half a stone, but you only see 2 or 3 pounds on the scales, and that's okay because at your weight, it's you know I would rather see somebody your sort of weight at um 9.5 to 10 stone and fitting well enclosed than 8 stone and looking terrible. So it's more body composition than anything. Hoping your back has eased up a bit now. Yeah, I understand the skepticism on a plan like that because it's so counterintuitive. I did a talk for a GA club last night and a presentation over in London last weekend as well, and it's just you can see people's faces. It's so counterintuitive, but this is not a fad diet. It's not an Atkinsy type thing. It's nothing like that. It's an LCHF movement, the low carb high fat movement, which is a big thing. It's huge. And I know that's not what you mean because you're fully bought into it now, which is great. But yeah, it's very counterintuitive. Trying to eat butter and thinking, God, is this not going to clog my arteries is hard to do, alright. Um, I may have directed you to this website before, but I'm just such a big fan of it. You've all the world's leading doctors and diabetologists and all that sort of stuff. Um, just talking about this keto revolution. Intermittent fasting will be there in videos as well. I don't know if I've spoken to you about this before. I tend to repeat myself because there's so many clients. But if you haven't, I would suggest joining it. Actually, it's only I think €8 or €9 a month, and the first 30 days is free, and you can cancel at any time. But they've great super videos. Like if you go into weight loss, um, you can have a look at videos, and a couple of people that I recommend watching would be this is one definitely this guy, Dr. Andreas. Can't remember his surname. This is Eric Westman, Gary Tubbs. They're all like world leaders in this sort of stuff, and they talk about the perfect treatment for weight loss and how it's actually incredibly easy when you cut the shit about whole grains and when you cut through all of that rubbish. Um, no, so they've also got really good recipes. Actually, I did show you this before, I think, but yeah, it's worth having a look at some of them because I know that chocolate lava cake is supposed to be unreal. I think we had it before. This one here, the molten lava cake. Now, just to answer some more of your questions there before we get into the review. Um, yeah, staying away from grains is crazy. Actually, it is quite literally, like you say, reprogramming of your brain and your taste buds, and you're actually shifting. It's a metabolic shift. You're shifting your body's fuel source from carbohydrates to fats, and what you'll find is you won't crave them at all once you can stay off them and just not slip into a bad habit or anything like that. It's incredible. Um, yeah, there's the recipes. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So when it comes to answer your question on intermittent fasting, when it comes to going, if you don't eat till 2 p.m. and then you don't want dinner till 6 or 7 p.m., that's fantastic. So what people often do is they select a window of 6 to 8 hours in which they're going to eat. So they have the first meal at whatever 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and the last meal at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Personally, I go for a 6 hour window. And that means that you're technically in a fasted state from 7 or 8 p.m. at night till 2 o'clock the next day, but you're sleeping through half it, so you don't even notice. It's very, very easy to do. That's brilliant news about your cholesterol. In a not in a funny way now, but it doesn't surprise me in the slightest. What I noticed actually about your, because I see it all the time, what I noticed about your results, which is amazing, is that your HDL cholesterol is through the roof. It's really high. HDL stands for high density lipoprotein, which is essentially the good cholesterol that helps get the LDL, low density lipoprotein, um, out of the bloodstream and brings it way out to be transported to the liver, basically. Your triglycerides, which are the free floating fats which cause fatty acid oxidation, which is basically stress and inflammation and heart disease, they're really low. So you've got a really good what's known as cholesterol to HDL ratio. It's on the right hand side there of your note. So once that's under 4, you're really safe. And yours is way down. It's 2 point something, I think. But yeah, your HDLs are huge, and that would have been predominantly down to your increase in fats, which that's why a lot of people say, oh, I don't know, eating a lot of fat, there's good fats and there's bad fats. There is, and the bad fats are combined with sugars. That's it. It's that simple, and people overcomplicate it. Um, so that's great news. I would monitor, because I have to calibrate machines. I monitor my cholesterol every week, and it just got better and better and better and better every week. It's amazing. Um, Now, so your yes, your idea actually to recommend for to meet up with that lady and recommend me to anyone with high cholesterol, I'd love that. That'd be fantastic. My background actually is I'm a chronic condition management specialist, which is managing patients with diabetes, high cholesterol, hypertension through diet. Um, and I, again, not in a cocky way, but I outperform doctors in medication easily, reversing that sort of stuff. So that would be super. Yeah. If you could give me her name, I might send her an email if you happen to have her details. If you don't, there's no panic. Um, yeah, that's great that you've sent out my details to a few people as well. I really appreciate that. Yeah, the 17-hour fast, I definitely think you could do. I would do it twice a week, 3 times a week. Some people do it all week. It's up to yourself, whatever you think. The bulletproof coffees are great, aren't they? Yeah, they're really nice. Um, would it be considered breaking the fast? Yes, technically a fast is no food at all, no calorie or macronutrient intake. Um, so it would be considered breaking the fast, but because the idea of fasting is to get insulin right down as low as possible. There's very little, in fact, probably no carbohydrate in that, which won't cause a spike in insulin. So your insulin levels will still stay pretty slow, but it would be considered breaking it, yeah. So, um, but it wouldn't do much harm. Um, yeah, no, it's great you're fat adapted, and I love this. Really love seeing this sentence. You don't see yourself eating any other way in the future. The amount of people who say that to me is unreal. They say, "Oh, I'll try it and I see how you get on," and I meet them 2 years later, and they're saying, or a year and a half later, and they're saying, "Wow, unbelievable! I would never. How did I not know this before?" Now let's do your review. So, diet looks good. There was something in there I wanted to give out about, and I can't remember what it was, but I will. um, okay, so a bit of course late in there. I think on Friday and Saturday or some stage over the weekend. I was amazed actually that you can get 4 pints of course late. Carbohydrates are only 20 grams. I didn't know that. That's super. Okay, now your carb level, again, all like I always say, all these things exist on a spectrum. Most people take in 300 to 400 grams of carbs, which is incredibly bad for you and inflammatory. Um, you're coming in somewhere between 30 and 70 there most days. And if I minus off the fiber, which will give me my net carbs, what your body actually had to process, yeah, you've good levels of fiber, good bit of veg in there. So you're probably around 60 or 70. Now, the ideal and the highest level of functioning from a cognitive point, mood point, to combat depression, to combat inflammation, to ease joints, all that sort of stuff, and to burn fat is below 50 grams of carbohydrate. That would be considered ketogenic. So what I'd like you to do is if you see anything that's got more than 10 or 20 grams of carbs in it, just cut it all together. So we're just going to have a look here at the 23rd. There was something, and I can't remember what it was. Oh yeah, baked potato. That will knock him way up. So 37. And I know it's technically healthy enough because it's a baked potato and it's from the ground. But those veg from the ground, the ones that are in the what they call the tuber family, when they're in the ground, because they're in the ground, the soil encourages the starchiness of it. Basically, is the easiest way to explain it. So Veg that grows under the ground. So that would be sweet potato, potato, turnip, butternut squash, and carrot. They'd all be quite high in carbohydrate. Avocado, superfood, fantastic. Chicken wings and beer. Isn't it great? You can get away with that and still feel amazing. Um, Chicken wings with celery and blue cheese sauce is actually one of the nicest things to eat, and the spicy sauce, and has almost no carbs in it. Lots of fat, lots of collagen, connective tissue, and things like that, which is really, really good for you, and a decent amount of protein as well. So it's actually one of the ideal meals, believe it or not. Um, Correlate, grand, that's all right. You said in one of your videos that you sorry one of your videos one of your emails that you didn't see yourself giving up that anytime soon. You don't need to. You absolutely don't need to, especially if you're being clever and having the Coors Light 20 grams. That's grand. Meatballs are super. Basically, all I do to make sure someone is at optimal health is ensure that their fat levels are high enough and their carbs, especially from inflammatory sources, are low enough. And they're getting lots of fiber. That's kind of the bottom line. So it's all about carbs. So the potatoes, kind of the only thing there. Aside from that, you're pretty good on carbs, to be fair now. Um, yeah, no, really, really good. Your diet looks good, and I was really glad to see a bump up in fat. So you can see that there's a real conscious effort to get your fat levels up, which is fantastic. Okay, so your fat levels up around 100. That's super. You're bound to have tons of energy with your fat at that level. Um, that is going to lower your cholesterol, lower your risk of cancer by literally by about 8 or 9 when you cut out inflammatory carbohydrates, way, way down. Um, it'll increase your mood because the reason it does is because carbohydrates cause systemic inflammation, and inflammation causes disturbances in your hormones. So you're kind of all over the place depending on what you've eaten. Um, a lot of people find that they get in good form almost to a point that they're giddy. They're kind of like buzzing, like on a natural kind of a buzz. That's the way you're supposed to be. That's how humans should be. And people are always asking why I'm always in good form and why I never get bothered by anything. It's because of my diet. Um, and I find a lot of people just feel like they've kind of woken up out of a daze, and they're finally starting to live, which is a really empowering feeling and does so much good for you from a work point of view, a motivation point of view. Having that even level of energy, you should and you will get to a point where you're thinking at 10 o'clock, half 10 at night, geez, I might go for a walk. Like the same level of energy at 10 or 11 o'clock at night that you had at 11 or 12 o'clock in the day. That even level of energy is because fat is a steady, clean fuel. Carbohydrate is not. It's absolutely not. You'll have a short-term acting energy when you've eaten a bit of carb, but then when it drops off, you feel like crap, and your energy levels drop down for an hour or two until you top up, and it's a vicious cycle, and all the time you're storing fat. So this is just a superb way to live. Just as a matter of interest, if you are interested in reading up on this sort of stuff, I'll just give you two different books. I think I've told you about Primal Blueprint before. It's by a guy called Mark Sisson, who's just in ridiculous shape um, for his age, and he's 60, 62, I think. That's what he looks like, which is mad. That's him holding a paper to show that that's really the date. Um, and he's a proponent of all this sort of stuff. And a brilliant book as well is called Keto Clarity. So what I often do is what I often do is, instead of reading, because I don't really have the time to read, is I download an app called Audible. So Audible app, so that I can listen to it. So you can get the app. I'll show you what it looks like here now. It looks like that. That's the symbol. You can download it in the iTunes store or in the App Store. And then for something like €10 a month, you can get one free book, and the books are normally €20. So it's kind of like a Spotify type thing. So for €10 a month, you can download a book. Um, Keto Clarity is fantastic. It's really, really good. And Primal Blueprint is excellent as well. But delighted with your cholesterol. That's fantastic. Energy levels, mood, all that sort of stuff. That's kind of normal to me, but it's such a great feeling. Um, yeah, really delighted you're getting on well. You don't need to change anything in your diet. Fats are good. Cut the baked potatoes, and that's kind of it. And I know that was a one-off note, to be fair, but the beer I'm not too worried about. Aim for 50 grams of carbs or lower, and then you'll be in a ketogenic state. And when you're in a ketogenic state, it is just amazing. If you think your energy is good now, it'll almost be too high when you reach that below 50 grams consistently for a couple of weeks. But yeah, great work, superb work. and hope everything else is well. I'll talk to you soon. All right. Cheers, Sandra. Bye bye.